and welcome to Living with Pride. I'm your host, James Brown, and my sidekick, Amelia Lawson, is not here, but that's okay. Today, we've got in the house with us the representative from AARP, Laura Polacheck. Polacheck.
Yes.
I knew I was going to butcher that.
Yeah, everyone does.
You know?
That's quite
and
all right.
so you're used
Why
to
should
that.
you be any different? Right.
Well, I want to be different, you know what I mean? Because this is an important piece here.
Yeah.
We're talking about AARP. Now,
Right.
just for a brief moment,
Okay.
what is your task as a representative of AARP?
Well, I'm with the state office here in Utah. I'm the communications director.
Okay.
We only have 5 people here on staff, but we have 300 volunteers who help us. AARP is about 1,500 people nationwide, mostly in Washington, D.C., our national office. But AARP has an office in every single state, and so we can work on state issues, get in touch with our members one-on-one, work before the state legislature, all that kind of thing.
So, what has, back when AARP, 1990, when was it when it was formed?
Oh, over 50 years ago.
Over 50 years
Yes.
ago. 50 years ago, it
Yeah.
was not such a catastrophic process of aging. Now it is.
Yeah.
Everybody, the baby boomers are now seniors. 10,000 people turn 65 every day.
I really don't know that statistic. But if I could just tell you a little bit about where we were founded, it's kind of an interesting story.
I'd love to hear that.
Okay, well, there was a retired school educator, Ethel Percy Andrus,
Right.
who went to visit one of her teachers, and she went to the address and couldn't find her. She was actually living in a chicken coop because she was so
That
impoverished.
sounds like a song.
Because she could be a country song.
Right.
But she was so impoverished because teachers had absolutely no benefits, no pensions.
Right.
And so this emboldened her to try to find group health coverage
Right.
for teachers. So AARP actually started out as the National Retired Teachers Association, NRTA, which still exists today.
Who
And
needs
that
help
became
also these days?
Everybody does.
Yes.
Yes. So teachers, she was one of the really pioneers of
Right.
finding group health for people who can't afford it on their own. We're still working to fight
Right.
to make sure people get health coverage. So that started in 1958,
Right.
and now we have 39 million members. And we are
39 million.
quite a few. And so we are nonpartisan, but we are political. We try to influence decision makers, and we have our members are people 50 plus.
Well, we want ARP to wrap their arms around this program because we want to influence those decision makers so that they can help us make a change so you can get help out there. And that's what this is all about. Now, we've got a lot of things going on, and I know tax reform is a big issue right now.
Yes.
Where does AAR stand in the state of Utah with respect to tax reform? We talk about food tax and all kinds of things happening. Would you
Yeah.
kind of bring us up to date on where
Sure.
we're at right now with that?
Well, primarily, as you can understand, we want to remove the tax on Social Security benefits.
Right.
Utah is one of only 13 states that taxes benefits, and you've already really paid for your benefit through your work life.
Right.
So we believe the tax on that benefit should be removed, which begs the question, how are you going to replace that revenue that the state got from taxing benefits? We've actually just conducted a survey we're about to release, which showed, most people in the state believe there should not be such a tax, and they are willing to see some small taxes on services. And as you can well imagine, in Utah, they're willing to see more tax on alcohol and tobacco.
Sell cannabis, and that's how you get that money back. Plus, you can put a little bit of money in the coffers. So we need to figure that out, ladies and gentlemen up at the Capitol.
We're not going there, but we do see people, unsurprisingly, believe some of the higher
Right.
income people could probably afford to pay more, as well as some corporations that get forgiveness for taxes, they could afford to pay some more.
So is the sales tax a dead issue right now, or?
Oh no. The sales tax reform task force
Right.
has its next meeting on September 26th, They're still meeting. Remains to be seen what they will decide, but it's been a deliberative process.
Right.
Whether or not they're going to have a special session before the January regular session or not is unclear, but it definitely is still a live issue.
Well, I guess in the past surveys, about 60 some odd % of people was kind of waffling with where they were going to go with that particular vote or with that issue.
Yeah, it's very individual, depending, of course, on a person's own individual situation. Whether you're low income, you probably want to see some tax forgiveness.
Right.
Higher income don't want to pay tax on certain benefits they receive. AARP generally believes in a more progressive tax system for people who can afford to pay more.
Right.
And they're going to get some breaks, do pay more, but make it fair for everyone.
So you got tax reform underway. You've got a campaign to some extent of dealing with affordable housing and accessible housing.
Yes.
You've got a growing senior population that is really fragmenting what needs to happen throughout the state. Rural Utah is facing a dilemma that they probably never thought that they would face, and that's housing issues. What is AARP thinking about in terms of the community? How are we eliciting the support of the consumer, of the persons that are needing this help?
Right. Well, we certainly like to do a lot of surveys. We like to do listening events. We do events all over the state. It is harder, as you're pointing out, to get to rural areas.
Right.
Sometimes people don't have the time, or they're very dispersed as far as population. But we have a lot of things online, and we try to visit small towns and communities and bring programs right to them. One big issue, though, with rural areas is healthcare, and so we're fighting to make sure they have better access to telemedicine. Because, if you live somewhere, maybe the nearest doctor is 50, 100 miles away sometimes, you want to make sure you can get healthcare when you need it, you not have to drive hours for it. And so that brings the cost way down and makes sure that you can get the right specialist who might be able to help you.
Well, and coupled with the fact that many of us who are aging don't have the mobility that we had years ago.
Right.
So it's either have someone take you there or some mode of transportation. And the further you get out into rural America, rural Utah, you find that is a very diminishing proposition.
Very much so. And so we have actually worked with different county offices who have sometimes free or very low-cost ride programs for people, whether it's, could just be seeing a friend, so you don't have the isolation that's a problem. Or, of course, going to a doctor's visit or getting medication or getting groceries. So it's really important. Transportation is key to make sure people can stay connected to what they need and to stay engaged in the community.
Right.
We do a lot of programs, actually, with a doctor who's with the University of Utah, talking about ways for people to stave off dementia.
Right.
And a big component is staying socially engaged and making sure your brain stays active.
And dementia, the fact that you mentioned it, that there are just an enormous amount of studies that are taking place. More people seem to be faced with dementia as they get older now than ever before. Is it because we may overlooked it?
Well, I think part of it is people are living longer, and so they are physically better fit.
Right.
As they live longer, the oldest age component is more subject to having dementia.
I know this very famous doctor, and I can't think of his name now, but he's on television, and his mother has got dementia, and he is so sad because he didn't catch it. He didn't pay attention to it.
Well, it's difficult, and there's really not a cure, and there's not a way necessarily to prevent it. You can improve your memory and improve your mental agility. But unfortunately, there's a lot of research and a lot of people working on dementia. And Alzheimer's, of course, is just one form of dementia.
Right.
So their Alzheimer's Association is doing a lot of great work. But it's very sad because the person you knew and loved is still physically present, but they're not the same person.
It's so unique. We think about and we don't think about aging. When we think about aging, typically it's too late. we are now overcome with all of the issues that we have to deal with.
Right.
Affordability, retiring is that thing that they say, hey, you're going to retire, you're going to quit everything. And today we need to rejuvenate our aging population because there's an opportunity for them in the workforce.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting where you look at older workers and you think, shouldn't experience and wisdom count for something? But
Absolutely.
There's definitely soft age discrimination. It's very hard to prove. If you're applying for one position and maybe a 45-year-old is hired instead of a 60-year-old,
right.
It's difficult to prove age was a factor when it's one position.
But it is, and I think it's the bias, and hopefully as we go along, this podcast will start laying a platform to help people understand that I hear many people talk about the millennials.
Yeah.
Don't mean to say the millennials are negative, but the fact that customer service is a big issue. And millennials don't seem to be on that page in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And I think a senior would go in and go, are you okay with that, ma'am or sir, or whatever the case might be?
Right.
And
more than Walmart, right. I mean, what we do actually with AARP, we have these courses to help people if they're job hunting, if they want to reinvent themselves, they might have worked somewhere for 40 years and they want to start something new. How to put their resume together that highlights their skills, how to network.
Right.
They're not going to necessarily know the same networking tools as someone 30 has who doesn't even know what a typewriter is. So someone who's in their 50s or 60s then can look at, hey, how do I make sure that people know I have these skills and I still have a lot to contribute? I might not have grown up like using an iPhone instead of a rotary phone, but that doesn't mean you don't have a lot of very useful, important skills that you develop.
So we're now being in touch with teaching our aging population how to use this technology. AI has become important to everybody. Yeah. AI is the bridge to connect you with your family, even though you're not as mobile as you used to be 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Frankly, it's fantastic. If you can use FaceTime or other tools, and you can see your grandchildren might be 1,000 miles away.
Exactly.
It's a fantastic way to stay connected. But we want people to feel like they can be more engaged too, not just sitting at home through artificial intelligence, but being active out there in the workforce or recreation, whatever they choose.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm James Brown. This is Living with Pride, and we're talking about how you, the seniors, can get coupled to AARP, and we're going to get a website, we're going to get an email address, and we're going to get a phone number so that you can tap into it, because if you're looking for resources, you can't lose by going to AARP.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
Why don't you give us a website address and a phone number so all these thousands and thousands of viewers can...
Thousands. There's a lot of ways to get in touch with us. There's a main website for AARP, which is aarp.org, very easy. Or if it's our Utah website, aarp.org/UT. And we have a toll-free number, 866-448-3616. Again, that's 866-448-3616. We would love for you to visit us on Facebook page. So
you never thought you'd hear it.
Facebook.com? Oh, no.
Go to Facebook and check us out. That's what I'm talking about.
Facebook is now the boomer site. So it's facebook.com/AARPUT. And we have a lot of programs, we have information, we have links to information, we have a lot of caregiving information as well. I don't know if we have time or we're going to go into that.
Keep going.
Should we talk about caregiving?
Keep going. And I want you to go to www.livingwithpride.org. That's our webpage. Check out some of the episodes that we have on there. We're also on YouTube. We're also on Facebook Live. We're on Instagram. We are everywhere you need to be to get the right information, and that's why we're talking to AARP and Laura. That's what I'm talking about. Now, before we end this show, you got a couple of things you want to talk about? Let's do it.
A lot of things.
Keep talking. We'll make this 2 segments. Coming to you in 2 parts. Living with Pride.
going. Okay.
Keep going.
Well, we know that caregiving is a very big issue with our members, but not,
Right.
of course, not just our members, but children of our members who are often the caregivers. Now, I think people would be surprised to know there are 336,000 family caregivers in Utah alone.
How many?
336,000 in Utah alone. Now, a lot of people don't consider themselves a caregiver because they think, oh, I'm just taking care of mom, I'm just taking care of my sister.
Right.
But if you are unpaid, taking care of their medical needs, maybe buying their groceries, maybe checking in on them, you're a family caregiver.
Right.
And it's estimated that the amount of service provided to the state is $4.1 billion with a B dollars
Right.
a year. And so AARP has a lot of resources for
Right.
family caregivers. They get burned out. Sometimes they have to provide medical care when their family member returns from the hospital. So one thing we did, we were very instrumental in helping get past the patient-designated caregiver rule.
Patient-designated caregiver rule.
It was through the Utah Department of Health.
Okay.
You don't have to know that. You just have to know that the hospitals are required, if you're in the hospital, to allow you to designate a family caregiver.
Right.
Then they have to notify that person if you are discharged home or to another facility.
Right.
Before, if someone was discharged home, sometimes the caregiver didn't even know that.
Right.
And they wouldn't have proper care. And also give you an opportunity for a demonstration of the wound care you might have to administer to your loved one, or what kind of medications are required.
Right.
So you can really have a continuity of care from when the person's in the hospital to when they're discharged home.
Incredible.
So we have a wallet card with all of this information
Right.
and and a resource guide. And
Wallet card and research guide.
But the wallet card, what they can do, I know this is a lot of websites, but it's aarp.org/UT wallet card. Again, aarp.org/UT wallet card.
And we'll put that on the screen.
I'm sorry, it's action.aarp.org/UT
Okay.
wallet card. Action
Okay.
first. And then they can download the card. And so, like so many things, you hear about all these different things you should say or ask or do,
Right.
and then it's too much. And so we think if people have a wallet card with them, then they have the bullet-pointed rights right with them when
Right.
they need it.
Right.
When they need it. Because caregivers are often very burnt out. They have to take care of sometimes their own children, plus their parents. It's a financial strain, that a lot of burnout. So we want to really support them. If I can maybe hold up.
Sure, give it to me now. Yep.
The
Okay.
Utah Caregiver Resource Guide. It has a lot of great information and tips and resources for caregivers. You're not alone. People often feel as if they're alone. They're far from alone. We also have courses called Careversations, where you can meet with other caregivers, share tips, share...
Get better ideas on how to take care of business.
Right, right.
So AARP is making sure everybody's up to speed with the right information and the
Yeah.
right platforms to get the right resources in the hands of the people who need.
Yes, we desperately want to help caregivers, because almost everyone either will have a caregiver help
Right.
them or be a caregiver, and so we desperately want to make sure that they're taken care of and they have the resources they need. Even if it's just reading an article online, it can be very helpful.
So I'm going to jump in on top of all of that. What are we doing about the high cost of pharmaceuticals, of medicine?
Funny you should ask.
You know,
Funny you should
I mean, it's crazy. I had, my liver was being checked out, and I had to get a medication that cost $4,000.
It's insane and it's despicable. And so ARP, and this is not a setup, has a campaign called Stop Prescription Drug Greed, Stop RX Drug Greed.
I love it.
And so what we're doing is working at both the state and the federal level.
Right.
Of course, if it's at the federal level, it would be better. It would create
Right.
protections for everyone in the country. So some of the major things we're working on is trying to get Medicare the ability to negotiate drug prices.
Woo.
Right now they don't have that ability, which bring them down. It makes no sense. They handle millions of.
So where do we need to get that momentum to start changing that? Is it the legislative process?
I believe it's multifaceted.
Okay.
Certainly the legislative process is one of the stronger tools. And pressure. I mean, the prescription drug industry is.
So we need to be calling Romney and Mike Lee and.
Yes.
You said
absolutely.
Lee, seriously.
Mike Lee. And Mitt. Well, definitely.
And then we're not talking about General Lee. We're talking about Mike Lee.
That battle's already been over. So it's very, very important that they hear from constituents. Pharma is very deep-pocketed and powerful. That's the prescription drug lobby. We're also trying to cap out-of-pocket costs for people like you who can't pay that much. In Medicare Part D, which is the prescription drug benefit. And this is very insidious. I think a lot of people don't realize some drug companies will pay a generic drug company to delay introducing the generic so they can hold on to charging you the name brand price.
We're talking millions of dollars, obviously.
Incredible amount of money. I mean, if you get a generic drug versus name, it can be a tenth of the cost. And so it's insidious.
I mean, and I think one helpful thing, even though it's a sad thing, is the opioid crisis has really shined the light on the pharmaceutical companies. I know there's one particular company, various states are taking them to court, Kentucky and a few other, Louisiana, whatever, have won cases now that have caused those companies to have to pay billions of dollars regarding that. So we're now looking at the whole big picture.
And in importation, we send drugs to Canada, they charge a fraction, getting drugs back. There's actually legislation introduced in the last Utah legislative session by a Republican to do that. It didn't get out of committee. But that's also one avenue.
But it's scary because people are going to Canada to get drugs. The other side of it, too, is a lot of pharmaceuticals are being made in India and China, and this could put a stranglehold on it. I mean, if they ever, and this probably has nothing to do with AARP, but if they decide to weaponize that, they could put Americans in big, big trouble.
Well, they're definitely, with any reimportation issue, there definitely need to be checks on the channel of distribution. Yeah, there has to be.
So how do we help? We've got a large body of people coming to the table who are seniors who can vote.
Right. Please vote. Yes, please vote. Seniors do vote. But put pressure on people. Make this an issue. I think a lot of times people think, all you care about is Social Security and Medicare. But it's, hey, once you get to that age, those are lifelines.
They'll keep you alive.
And everyone is influenced by the cost of prescription drugs. We find a third of the people in Utah don't even take their drugs because they can't afford them. They forego them for necessities like rent or food. And so people are really getting sick, and sometimes worse, because they're not taking adequate prescription drugs.
And I will tell all of you, the only person that's worried about not aging is the person that's already passed away.
Interesting.
Think about it.
Yes. I mean, and it's funny, and I just want to underscore, too, I think people think of AARP, we just represent the older cohort. Everyone, even people not born yet, hopefully, will get to be the age of 50 and over.
Absolutely.
So we want when you hit that stage of your life, we want it to look good for you. We want you to be financially secure.
Set the tone now, even though you're a youngster. Set the tone now, because someday soon you'll be older, and you want to know that when you get to that next level in your life, which is the part of life you want to enjoy yourself, you want to have things around that will help you do that.
Exactly, and you want to feel secure in your health, your finances, your day-to-day life. Absolutely.
Is there anything that we haven't touched upon?
Well, thousands of things, but I guess We can wrap up for now.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to bring her back again and again and again. We're going to talk about these issues. The first thing, let's get some momentum up. I'm going to call on you folks out there to pay attention to this. I want you to call AARP. I want you to go to their website and look at it. And if you can't do that, go to livingwithpride.org. Check us out. Let us help you find a way to get a solution into your life, because we're currently doing this broadcast from the Sharon Gardens, which has a whole house full of seniors here that all need support and help. And there are a number of facilities around this state that do this very thing, offer affordable housing to seniors so they can have a better life and have access to programs that are featured by AARP and other great organizations. So I'm James Brown, and this is my co-host, Laura. Ha! We're fooling you. She's coming to work with us right now. Is that right, Laura?
That's right, man. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, thank you for watching this. Thank you, Laura, for being a guest.
Thank
Your information is important. We will use it. We will disseminate it out to the public.
Excellent. That's
and
excellent.
keep up the good work.
Thank
God
you
bless
very much.
Until next time, live with pride.